doesn't look like everybody else felt the same way. Kinda empty. So now we're into these. Nope. What?
Friday, Saturday, snow. Measurable. No snow's up.
Got me wanting to check the weather. I'll be, I wanted to plant my garden.
Good weekend.
I guarantee that was a car wash yesterday.
Oh,
A little plant starts at
I went there because my yeah, he went pro.
they have crows here?
Big one.
We shifted down. We shifted down in the driver's seat. No, not that many, got that. Yeah, so city outside.
I heard a personal opinion. Chair gets oriented, like commissioner back the agenda. There's a copy of draft minutes. There is also a procedure. Recorded when you want to speak. You can stop when the intern if you would like. You were the chair at both Cal and Mark contacted us today and indicated that they were ill and they were not able to attend today. So we, that the circulated to not expose other commission members.
Since you have a name tag, you're in.
All right, I guess we'll call the meeting to order at 6:08 PM. Roll call, Cal Patel is absent. I'm here. Commissioner Dixon,
Here.
Commissioner Bub,
Here?
and Mr. Collins is absent. All right, we have a, we do need a motion to excuse the absences, or?
Sorry.
We have a motion to excuse the absences.
Oh, yeah, yes, I so move.
I'd like to second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
The absences are approved. And join us in the pledges of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we can I put forth motions, or does it have to be somebody else?
You can entertain a motion from one of the two.
Motion for approval of the agenda.
Also move.
I'd like to second that movement.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Agenda is approved. All right, so we have minutes from, I'd like to put a motion forward to approve the planning meeting minutes from Wednesday, February 12th, 2020.
I'd like to make that movement to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. So we got, so the public comment period. So do we have any public comments tonight? Do we have a sign-up sheet anywhere?
This would be for any public comments for an item that you'd like to just bring to the commission that's not already on the agenda.
Are we on the
So no additional public comments, all right? So that brings us to, these are in different order from my other sheet. So I guess presentation, do we have any presentations?
We have no presentations for today.
Okay. So that brings us to our public hearings. So, I guess just for the record, the public hearing is opened for, let's do A first, or?
Yes, there'd be item number A for public hearings, and there is a hearing sheet in front of you, Chair Bell, that you would read out to the audience for today's hearing. It's right there.
Am I right? Oh, right there.
It's just
Okay.
instructions for the public hearing.
That's what I was
to
looking for.
tonight.
All right, so public hearing procedures. All persons wishing to speak shall sign their name, address, or residence and indicate whether they wish to speak as proponent, opponent, or from a neutral position on a form provided by the city. And where's that form located?
We have the sign-up sheet in the back. I'll grab that for you.
Okay. And any person who fails to sign in shall not be permitted to speak until all those who have signed in have given their testimony. The chair may change the order of speakers so that testimony is heard in the most logical groupings, i.e. proponents, opponents, adjacent owners, etc. Timing for the presentation. The commission will take public testimony during a public hearing, the public comment period, and prior to action. Persons appearing before the commission should limit their comments to 5 minutes. Where an organization is appearing before the commission, it should designate a representative to speak on behalf of its members. The public hearing process. The chair introduces the agenda items, opens the public hearing, and announces the following rules of order. Just read all this. Okay. All comments by proponents, opponents, or other members of the public shall be made from the podium. Any individuals making comments shall first give their name and address. This is required because an official recording of the public hearing is being made. No comment shall be made from any other location. Anyone making out-of-order comments shall be subject to removal from the meeting. If a person is physically challenged and requires accommodation, the chair shall be advised. There shall be no demonstrations, applause, or other audience participation during or at the conclusion of anyone's presentation. These rules are intended to promote an orderly system of holding a public hearing, giving every person an opportunity to be heard and to ensure that no individual is annoyed or embarrassed by exercising his or her right of speech. The chair may call upon the Community Development Director or designee to describe the matter under consideration. The chair calls upon proponents, opponents, and all other individuals who wish to speak regarding the matter under consideration. And the chair inquires as to whether any commission member has questions to ask the proponents, opponents, speakers, or staff. If any commission member has questions, the appropriate individual will be recalled to the podium. The chair continues the public hearing to a time specific or closes the public hearing.
sponsored by the city of Airway Heights. This is land use application in 2020-002, and it's proposed rezone from single family, which is known as R1, to R2, which is two-family or duplex zoning, for approximately 4.63 acres. This information was included in your packet. So the subject property, as you can see on, excuse me, the screen over there, this map indicates the approximately 4.63 acres. So off to the left of the screen is present-day Craig Road, and the roadway on the south side of the development drawing is White Tip Avenue. This is for some property that was part of a development by the Plan Commission and City Council under the Arrowleaf Townhomes development. This is lots within the development. That project was approved by the city of Airway Heights, and in the drawing there, the medium blue color is the present R2 zone. The green is the area that we're proposing to extend the R2 or duplex zoning, changing it from single family to two family, and would include approximately 20 lots that have already been approved for duplex zone development with what's called zero lot line. So it would be two duplexes joining at a property line for 20 drawing is actually the current single family, would stay single family if this city council for approval. Before we move on, are there any questions about the drawing?
Yes, one. What I thought I heard you say is they are two sets of duplexes, so it's more like a condo. 'Cause there's 4 dwellings,
They would.
right? Because there's 2 and 2, and they're 2 deep.
They would be duplexes. The proponent for this project is developing a rent-to-own product, and so they would be rentals, 2 duplexes on each of the lots, and then they would have a common property line between them. The proposal would allow for ownership in 15 years on a qualifying basis, but they would be rent-to-own. And so your question was condominium. Condominium is normally a mechanism where somebody divides the units themselves and sells them in the future as individual units.
But they're still individual dwellings. Pods of 4.
That's right, they're
Right,
dwelling units.
okay.
Mhm. They're connected. The
Common
duplex-
walls, right.
Duplexes have common walls.
Thank you.
Any questions on the drawing or the proposed reason? Oh, sure.
Where'd you get those?
This is Craig Road, so Highway 2 would be to the south of this map, and this is White Tip Avenue.
No, that's,
Yeah, that's
No, north side.
yes, it's on the north side of the Salt Ridge Apartments.
So the applicable code for the city to consider a rezone is under the Airway Code 17.3080A, which provides for the Plan Commission or the City Council to initiate a rezoning action, and requires us to do public notice. And 2023, this was brought before the Plan Commission at your February criteria he deems necessary to provide for use of it or not for use of it as. It's not staff's opinion that this criteria applies because it's not an issue of whether or not we're using uses it simply for consistency's sake. And then for criteria F, those minimums are deemed necessary by the Commission and City Council. Part of your consideration and deliberation is if you would agree with staff's recommendation that this type of zoning, bringing into consistency with the underlying development would actually provide consistency with their criteria is necessary for zone changes for the city of Fairway Heights. Any questions about the decision criteria? So in conclusion, staff, we are asking the Plan Commission to consider recommending to City Council approval of the proposed rezone from R1 single family to R2 duplex with 2 family residential 6.3 acres. For that portion of recommending that you approve draft findings and conclusions that are in the packet as resolution 2020-005 recommendation to City Council. So with that, if there are any questions for staff, then staff would conclude its presentation and the chair could open it up to testimony for the applicant. Anyone from the audience that would like to, we didn't have anyone sign in for testifying on this item. We want to see if there's anybody who'd like to come forward and speak this time.
I have one quick one. I think you answered this in our last meeting. Parking, I always forget. Is there off-street, on-street, no street, garages included? What's the plan?
The proposal that was submitted for the early townhomes under 2018-0023 does provide for off-street parking for the development of the duplexes and other units in the project.
Thank you.
Okay, anything?
No questions.
You can open it up to any public comment, or anyone have any comments or any statements on the item that's in front of us right now? No. I think that is a no. No public comment, so
So at this point, you going to close the public testimony portion and then move on to deliberations among the Plan Commission on the recommendation before you.
okay. Go ahead and at this time we'll close the public hearing on the rezone from R1 to R2 for the Arrowleaf townhomes. And do we have any actual resolution? Or-
Yes, I have a copy of the resolution for you here.
So do I just read this off, or how, I usually haven't run it when we do these, so.
If you would like, I could read the resolution off, and then you could discuss, begin a motion to consider, and that would, if it was seconded, then you could begin to deliberate on the proposal before you.
So we read it off first then? Or-
I can read this off first. Airway Heights Planning Commission, Resolution 2020-005, a resolution of the Airway Heights Planning Commission providing its recommendation to the City Council of Airway Heights regarding a rezone of property from R1 single family residential to R2 two-family residential for approximately 4.63 acres located in the Airway Townhome subdivision. Whereas the City of Airway Heights Planning Commission initiated the rezone on its own motion on February 12, 2020. Whereas such rezone is consistent with the comprehensive plan and is not detrimental to public health, safety, and welfare. And whereas an amendment is necessary to provide more flexibility in the type of housing product permitted within Airway Heights. And whereas the amendment is deemed necessary by the Plan Commission. And whereas the public notice was provided in accordance with the public notification requirements of Airway Heights Municipal Code. And whereas a determination of non-significance and adoption of existing documents was issued on February 21st, 2020. The proposed rezone from R1 single family residential to R2 two-family residential for located on parcel 152.3.0077 under the State Environmental Quality Rules for Washington Administrative Code 19711, and whereas the Airway Heights Planning Commission has jurisdiction to hear and make recommendations to the City Council on amendments to the zoning map and to hold public hearings regarding rezones, and whereas on March 11, 2020, the City Council City of Airway Heights Planning Commission held a public hearing as required by the Airway Heights Municipal Code, and whereas the amendment is deemed necessary by the Planning Commission, and now therefore be it resolved that the Airway Heights Planning Commission hereby recommends to the City Council, and then you would fill in with what your final recommendation would be,
Yep.
and it would have the date if you were to sign this with your chair signing the document.
We have a motion to open deliberations on this resolution.
I don't have any questions or answers, do you? Anything?
I have no questions at this time, but I don't mind making a motion to open that. If we have no questions, do we need to make the motion to open that?
Yeah, so typically, to begin the deliberation, someone makes a motion to consider the recommendation.
Okay.
And then once it's second and you vote to that, then you can begin to have deliberations on what you would like to do. So it's just a motion to simply discuss.
I'd like to make the motion to open up for consideration.
Okay, I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so,
I think it's pretty clear.
yeah, I don't, we've actually gone over this one a few times, so I don't have too many questions.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's pretty clear, and it'll be nice to have, a little bit of diversity within the housing type, so.
And no one from the floor?
Do we just
Y'all are in the wrong meeting.
vote, or how does it
Obviously.
go?
So if you've completed your deliberations, then the next step would be for someone to make a motion to recommend to the City Council approval of the rezone as presented.
I'd so move. Recommendation, go ahead and move forward.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion to approve the resolution and pass on to it goes to the City Council now, right?
Yes, it does. That would be
To,
the next
to,
step.
to the City Council, it's approved unanimously.
Well, we will fill in this information on the resolution and have this for Sean to sign and move this forward to the City Council for their consideration. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So, I guess that brings us,
I don't know why all these people are here then.
right, so I guess
So
we
you
need
have you have a second hearing to open.
so open, the motion, I guess I could move. I move to open a public hearing. Should I do a motion for that, or do I just open it?
No, you just would open.
So I open a public hearing on item B on the agenda for draft comprehensive plan for the City of Airway Heights at 6:31.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to bring up a presentation for the comprehensive plan. And just really short, I took a 152-page document and I put it down to 19 slides, and I could probably do this whole thing in 5 minutes.
Good.
So thank you very much, and for those of you who are here in the Plan Commission, this has been a very long process, which is to consider the draft comprehensive plan for the City of Airway Heights. Each city and county is required under the Growth Management Act, known as GMA, to provide a long-range plan for how we propose to address things like housing, accommodate population growth, how we're going to address potential future commercial, industrial uses, how are we going to deal with vehicle traffic and pedestrians and bicycles, how are we going to supply water, sewer, how will we provide parks to the residents and the visitors to our community. All of these are incorporated into a requirement called comprehensive plan. We are required to have had an update to our original plan, which was originally adopted in 2006. We last updated that plan in 2008. Our update was required to be done in June of 2017, so we're behind on that. But once we adopt this plan, we're required to update it every 8 years under the state law. And what was listed there are the minimum required chapters. We can have additional chapters on top of that, but these are the minimum that are required to show consistency also the city council attended that, was well attended. We were very excited by that rollout of the draft plan. An opportunity to comment. The maps that were from the comprehensive plan were put up on display boards and people could ask comments. And we also did a survey that people could fill out on their preferences for how they would like to see the rolled out. We have also done our requirements for notice. So these comprehensive plans require a 60-day notice to state agencies before we can consider final adoption of the plan. And that notice was issued and is out for comment from those agencies. So we expect that we'll be getting comments through these 60 days from entities like the State Department of Transportation. This was sent to the Fairchild Air Force Base, to the Spokane International Airport, to the Health District, and to et cetera, so that they had a chance to review that. We also circulated the plan to our other local agencies, so the other cities and other community can also use a copy. We also advertised this hearing in the Cheney Press and then advertised it here at the March 5th. And we have issued a SUPA determination of non-significance. In other words, there isn't any significant negative impacts anticipated as potential of implementation at this point. So just a reminder, this is a plan that reaches into the future. We're required to plan on a 20-year horizon. And the 20-year horizon for us is in 2027. So the document itself, and we have a hard copy here for you, and then we can also circulate this through the audience, and we also have a copy over at the library that do not have access to the internet. Is organized in several chapters that contain the user guide, and basically how documents are prepared from a vision, data, goals, and policies, and how those lead to actions that the city will take over the future years to implement the strategies that are suggested in that plan. And it is also a tool on how we review, for example, reason. We're looking at development proposals to see how consistent, just like the criteria that were reviewed for the previous hearing tonight. policies or an objective, the actions are steps we will take in order to achieve those goals. And I spoke an example of, see what a goal looks like. The description you provide for your direction to the person reading this, especially when we're doing application and interpretations for a proposal. And you already got through the public hearing requirements for today. That, in summary, is just an overview of usually spend a lot of time reviewing. And I would just invite Bill Brent with CJ Lyons, who was here at the beginning, here through the middle, and here at the end on this, and did most of the work working with developing that draft. To add or put in.
Thanks, Heather. I think you did a great job condensing it down to 19 slides. I would like to point out one other thing, is that the city Parks and Rec folks are updating their Parks and Rec plan. So I don't know if that's going to come before the Planning Commission at some point, but it may. But when we were talking with JC about the plan and the direction that he's heading, we wanted to make sure that we had an appropriate policy framework within which he could work to update that plan. So it's another living, breathing example of how the comprehensive plan really does begin to work and operationalize some of these other things that are city business, some of which have nothing to do with land use. So anyway, thank you very much, Heather. That's great. I'm looking forward to testimony and how this unfolds.
And we have Kevin Anderson, our public works director, which many of the very meaty chapters of that plan that he has touched and worked on. Do you have anything that you would like to add or highlight?
Just that, yeah, as you know, we've been talking about water for quite a long time, and that question comes up in development meetings with some of the development community from time to time. I guess I just wanted to touch on that because it is still a murky outcome that we are trying to rectify with the Air Force, and that complexity and uncertainty is not fully described in the plan, but as that begins to unfold and we begin to see how we are going to solve this problem together, that could be something that gets updated sometime in the future. It will need to be updated sometime in the future.
So are there any questions from the planning commission regarding the draft that's been presented? I also know that we did get some comments since it's been out for review and they were in your packet, and I believe that there are individuals who were signed up to testify when you move over to that portion of tonight's hearing, but were there any questions from the planning commission about the draft?
No, just a couple of minor things, but I think it's just because of how long it took to process a few of the maps about things that we want to do have already been done, and the maps don't all reflect, but just minor. But other than that, it looked good.
Go ahead. Well, I was just going to make a comment. I'm extremely impressed with all the work and effort that went into this prior to even me being on the board. I mean, this has been working a while, and it's impressive to read, and it looks like it should last us 20 years. It looks very good. Thank you, John.
I guess we have anyone signed up?
So if you'd like to open the public testimony portion of the hearing, we have, I believe, 3 people signed up to testify.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and at this time, at 6:47, open up the public public comment portion of this public hearing. I guess we'll just have Leslie Perez. Do you want to come on up? You're first on the list.
I'm not Leslie. It's Leslie, but she wrote my name down.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
going to sell in for her. That's okay.
All right.
We gonna?
Oh, yeah. Can you have the PowerPoint? It's already loaded. It's the one on the right.
Do you have, will you be able to, or you're going to give us so we can?
Let you drive.
Okay, good. Do you want to come up here? Yeah. Leslie is driving.
Right. I have one for each of you.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So, thank you. My name is Jerry Storhaug. I'm a civil engineer. I have a consulting company locally here, and I've worked as a private development consultant for over 30 years. Most of those years, I have worked in the West Plains, City of Airway Heights, out at Fairchild, Spokane International, and also have had a lot of opportunity to work across the Coeur d'Alene, Spokane metropolitan area. So I see a lot of different things and a lot of development and the way things are approached. And on this particular property that's highlighted there, I've been involved with that for about 20 years, starting with Eric Tucker, Rick Richard, and Kevin Gunder. Eric and Rick are here tonight with us, but they started on that particular property about 20 years ago. And we started with a master plan, and that plan has been, to a certain degree, followed, although I got to say it's been adjusted to meet the market and some of the local needs. So it's fun to see how things and good planning develops over time. I want to echo the comments on the draft comprehensive plan. It's a very impressive document. It reads easily. I think it's going to be a great planning tool. So, kudos to Kevin and Bill and Heather for putting that together, and to the Planning Commission. I think it's going to be a great tool for you. A general comment that I have, I talked a little bit about my experience working with the, across the whole metropolitan area here, Coeur d'Alene to Spokane, that I am seeing that's changes in development over the years is a push for mixed use and a push for higher densities of residential housing. And, for example, and Heather's probably spoke to this, but in the city of Spokane, their lowest housing density right now allows up to 10 units per acre, and that's their low, what we would probably be in Airway Heights call our single-family residentials. In Airway Heights, it's 5. City of Spokane, it's 10. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that in Spokane County, they are currently working on an update to their comprehensive plan, and they're pushing their lower end up to 10 units per acre. City of Spokane Valley has avenues that you can take to double their density. But the point that I kind of want to make, and that's it speaks to some of the things I'm going to speak up here later, but the market is pushing towards a higher density type product, a more affordable type product, and we've all seen it ourselves. The lots are getting a little smaller. We're seeing more attached housing, and that's just the reality of where the market's going. So I guess that I'll just move right into, we have within that area, like their next slide, we have 4, for the most part, we support 100% the draft comprehensive plan. Up on this particular slide, you can see 4 areas that we would ask that the Planning Commission consider for revision. The area 1, we would ask for a revision from the single-family residential to the high-density residential. Area 2, we would ask for a switch from the low-density residential to a medium-density residential. Area 3, we'd like consideration to have part of that professional services space be switched over to high-density residential. In Area 4, from the low-density residential to the medium-density residential. And I'll provide some justification why we're asking for this. So at our next, I'm just going to try to keep myself to 5 minutes here. So Area 1, we had it master planned out to be basically an extension of the Highland Village area, which is close to being platted right now, and it's under construction. It provides for a nice mixed housing area, and that area designated as number 1 is just, we consider an extension of that. We have it master plan to extend the park area to double the size of it, and it just seems like a natural extension to have it be like the next phase of the Highland Village. These are these are slides that we showed for the Highland Village project when it came through. This is the type of housing we'd expect to continue on with. This happens to be the actual elevations from the Highland Village multifamily that plans are being prepared for right now. So we just want to see it. We think it fits well to just finish off that area with more of the same. The next area, area number 2, is right adjacent to the zone change action that happened tonight, where there was, I think the zone change was an R2. We would like to see that R2 continued all the way over to Craig Road. We see it as a logical place, not for single family, but for maybe more for like duplex type housing, and it would just continues to provide that mixed use, flavor that we're trying to create for this whole area here. So that's a request that we have. The third area is we have a request to have this be placed as high-density residential. What was there before under the draft is professional, more of a commercial type zoning. We feel the market has a limited need for additional light commercial professional uses, but we see a vision for that area for maybe for some senior housing type communities, something like maybe trying to entice like Rockwood or Waterford or somebody like that to come in and be in the city of Arrowhead Heights. We think there's very limited areas of that type of housing in Arrowhead Heights right now. So I think that would be a great use, and those are just some pictures from the Waterford, and happens to be Riverview community up there in the very right, but that's kind of what our vision would be for that particular area. The fourth area down by the city park, we would request that area is considered as medium density residential. To the south, there's attached housing, fourplexes, duplexes. We would like to see that continued forward to a certain degree, maybe a little different product type, but still targeting affordable housing, targeting starter families right near the park. It's a great spot for them, and also it's a maybe more of a senior community down there too. So. Within your package, we've also included the types of zoning that we would envision happening if our revisions to the draft proposal are accepted. Maybe go on to the next one. So, the 12 items of the comprehensive plan goals, I just wanted to emphasize, checked all the boxes. We feel that with what we're asking for revisions, we feel that we're falling right in line with those goals. But the ones that we want to emphasize is goal number 5, the provision of diverse housing types. We're most definitely thinking that we're promoting that with a little mix, allowing for some multifamily and some duplexes along with the single family residential. Goal number 7, plan for and establish types of quantities of land use that support the community needs. And that, Rick is going to speak tonight following me, and their group really has an understanding of what the community wants and people want to develop, and we just see what we're proposing here is where the market is really pushing this particular area. So goal number 9, maintain and improve Arrowhead Heights parks and recreational opportunities. The extension of the Highland Park to the north and filling that little notch that exists right there up to the city boundary, it's going to allow for that park to be twice the size as what's being proposed as part of Highland Village right now, and I think that'd be a great asset to that part of the town. And goal number 10, and it's you know, something that I think was really a wonderful news is that the city of Cheney is looking at a school site up in that very northwest corner, and that's going to be a great asset to the west side of town. So we're really excited to know that that's proceeding forward. So with that, I'm a little over 5 minutes. I don't know if you got any questions for me. That's pretty fast and furious. Not quite as well as Heather, did 150 pages in a short amount of time. But do you have any questions that I may answer?
I don't have any questions, but I wanted to thank you for putting together this packet so that, you know, we can see. I like the visual presentation.
You're welcome.
I guess my only concern, and it's not really, probably more for the city, but I know they're already looking at it anyways, but, I mean, those are all good ideas for the uses of the land, but you put in a lot of higher density, mixed income, and then the communities, or maybe possibly a retirement type center. We really need to look at better public transportation, because the bus route does not go anywhere near that now, and that's already a problem. And we really need to do something about that if we're going to add more of that type of, or even consider adding more of that type of homeownership in that area. Because that's the people that need that kind of transportation most, and there's just nothing at that end of town. So,
Commissioner Fleck, Public Works Director,
Just real quickly, STA's been planning their routes throughout our city, and that's been a comment that we've been giving to them. Even now with the Basalt Ridge and the Galena Apartments, there's a concentration of multifamily that are prime people to use transit, and they're at the end of a long street, and there's not a bus stop even really close to there. And that's been a comment. What they've essentially said to us is once 6 punches through, that affords them some opportunities to go by those higher density places and have convenient routes to get back down to the highway and onto Fairchild with their current route. So it's being thought of. The punching of 6 is a big part of it, and we're considering other options to get them at least closer until such time as 6 punches through.
thank you.
No, it's well put together, well explained.
Thank you for your time.
Good. Thank you.
Is this on the agenda to vote?
No, I don't think so. Well, maybe. So,
Did you want us to give our address for testimony, or?
yes, if you want to just write it on here, we'll make sure that it's copy your address and it's part of your testimony.
all right, so, is Mr. Richard, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Rick Richard from 4214 East 15th Avenue in Spokane. As Jerry said, we've been working on this development for 20 years. One of my partners, Eric Tucker, back here, and he and I are both realtors, and our third partner is a builder. So we feel like we've kind of mixed and matched our thinking on this development as the years have gone, just by what the needs are at the time, and the time just seemed to be right to be asking for the rezones that we are with the Spokane Indian tribe developing across the street from us, from the growth at the air base, a need for the more dense, potentially lower cost housing. As Jerry said, the cottage section, first of all, I guess since I had her pull this up, what we envision on that senior site is probably similar to these two over here, more of a one-story attached, 2 attached, 3 attached, living spaces like in that 1,400 square foot range. I don't myself see high-rise housing, but that'll remain to be seen what the market will drive us to. And to your concern, that was a big part of our conversation today, Kevin's and the other Kevin and mine, is the need for 6th Avenue to punch through and become a major spine that runs through town and an alternative to crossing town without getting out on Highway 2. So I would think that would bring some public transportation interest as well. Can you go back to the map of just, and there you go. So I don't know if you're aware, but one of the driving forces here that's kind of changed our thought process is the piece of ground just directly above item 2. We just closed in the last month the sale of that corner to the Cheney School District for an elementary school, which is going to be a nice piece. And that's another reason to keep, it fits nicely with the residential, so even though there's not a number on it, but between number 1 and number 2, the pale yellow, that's all currently zoned R1, and that works fine. We want to leave that way. So we would have residential to the right of it, residential in the pale yellow. We'd have the school, where who knows what happens someday to the north. I don't know that. At some point, growth boundaries as the city grows may stretch that direction. I think that anytime you get an elementary school, that can become a hub of growth for especially residential. Part of the thing on the thought with the senior housing is just we couldn't find much of that out here, and I think every community has a need for that. And with our commercial pieces in blue, we've already had some interest from different users that would play well into all of that, the residential, the duplex, the senior housing, and just kind of pick and choose some pieces that would create a community where people can get to at least the ancillary services that you might need every day, rather than traveling out to Highway 2 into town or up and down the 2 corridor. And then item 4, our reasoning behind that is, as Jerry said, there's already some duplex, fourplex that Ampman has been building in there. Plus, it didn't feel like single individual houses coming down that one leg made sense. You've got the park there that these will look out over, and the cost to develop that road being shared from duplexes on both sides of the road just seemed like a nice fix as well on that. So I don't know the process where you go from here after we present this tonight. I would assume there would be discussions within your group. There'd probably be public hearings and probably postings on the land and all of that, but we're prepared to do that. We feel pretty strongly that this is what is needed in this market right now, so I'd appreciate your consideration.
I have a question on the commercial use in the blue areas. Have you had conversations with any grocery markets?
You know, we haven't, but what we have decided is potentially we would rather not get into a big box grocery.
Right.
But try and find a middle box grocery.
Right.
And we've had discussions about it, partners, but we felt a little hesitant being able to pitch much more of this until we get granted
Sure.
what we're asking and enter into a development agreement with the city of Airway Heights. Yeah, we have a small medical user that we've talked to.
Because if one of the hopes is to not have people on Highway 2,
Grocery would
grocery would be a natural with the school and the neighborhoods and
Yeah, we came up with quite a list. Actually, Jerry and Leslie's cohort helped punch out a long list, and we went through it a little bit at our meeting, but some of them aren't allowed. But if you think about
Right,
it, there's
right.
half a dozen to a dozen uses that would be nice, that would keep foot traffic in the neighborhood and people off the longer trips. But I mean, originally I thought, oh, put a gas station in there, but that's not going to fly. So,
we
but
don't need another one.
right, a small grocery I think would be excellent.
Go ahead.
There are certain stores that are within Spokane that are, you know, in that middle to small range that spouses from Fairchild are known to travel all the way to Spokane for. And that would help to, you know, generate some revenue within the city.
Well, I would love, if you've got any inside tracks and names and numbers, I would take them.
Don't mention names from here, you know. I think it'd be a great idea also then if the developers could punch 6th Avenue all the way through. Why not? Part of the plan.
Yeah, we discussed that in both meetings that we've had in the last week.
thought it was my idea. Never mind.
Any other questions?
Nope. Next steps?
So that question's probably directed over here. So yes, the answer is the plan commission will be taking testimony on the overall plan and will also be written comments. And hearing phase into the deliberation phase. They'll be creating a body of recommendations to the city council, who will also have a hearing. The final document, which would
So is it possible in that process, as we were just talking here, that they would be able to give their vision of what might fit in a grocery store, of this, of that? Not to pigeonhole us or corner us, but just ideas.
well, you know, typically a hearing is hearing your proposal and then fielding questions from the plan commission and seeing if we have the city council of what your proposal may be, or, you know, further information on. Ultimately, the council will adopt a final document with a final land use map. Changes to that land use map, and staff will be bringing forward any zone changes that we need in order to facilitate consistency between the land use map.
How long a process is this usually?
So, one of the things that we'll likely do today, what I'll recommend to the plan commission, is to continue this hearing to their next meeting, where we would take additional testimony this time, but also likely receiving written comments, since that for agency review. It'll likely be at that point that the plan commission will review recommendations to council, probably May, with the document plus the recommendations of the plan commission.
Can you let me know which of those meetings it would fit for us to be a part of?
Absolutely, we will notify anybody who's attended today of the
Perfect, thank
So,
you.
so this is not an action item for us tonight.
No, tonight we're going to recommend that you continue the hearing to your April 8th meeting. So you can continue to take public comment.
Oh, all right.
No, these are land use amendments. So they're asking for, in summary, to take the document, the comprehensive plan draft, and to recommend changes to the city council to the land use map. That as part of your overall motion of any other changes you would make to the 115. Because we're required to look at the totality of the plan at once. We're
Okay,
around this year.
okay. And if it's not too much to ask, I don't know your names. Is that okay to ask? We used to come to these meetings for years, and it's been a while.
Again, we need a name tag. Yeah, I'm Art Bubb.
Art Bob?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Art.
Eva Dixon.
Hi, Eva.
Sean Fell.
I was gonna call you Mr. Phil, but
And tonight we're missing two Al Patel as well
okay,
as their names are on.
okay. Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you.
Archie. So that was all the ones on the sign-up sheet.
So is there anybody else who wish to, we have, anyone else who wishes to testify on the comprehensive plan before the plan commission this evening?
Just getting paid.
I don't see any additional persons wishing to testify, so I would,
Hang on. Sorry, I thought maybe we had a volunteer.
so at this point, I would recommend that the plan commission consider a vote to continue tonight's hearing to your April, I believe it's 8th, meeting date, and to allow for public comment to remain open, in the sense of we would be receiving both written comment and at the continued hearing, that you could have additional public comment if anyone were to attend and wish to testify.
I would like to make that recommendation then, to move this to the April 8th meeting.
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So we move to April 8th meeting. So that closes the public hearing on item B at 7:16. All right. Do we have any action items? I don't see any on the agenda. So.
There are no action items for this evening,
And no workshops.
no workshops.
Any commissioner reports?
I have a question. Is this section for us to ask questions of city or, I mean, I don't have a report, but I have some questions. Okay.
If you have questions for us, absolutely, you
Okay,
can certainly
great.
do that.
So these are procedural and they may seem silly, but I'm going to ask them anyhow. Why do we have invocation on our agenda? I mean, we don't pray at these meetings.
This is a format that's in your binder
Which
of
is-
your own policy, so if you wish to change that, you'd simply discuss it and vote on it
Okay.
as a commission.
All right. This is going to sound snarky, but you know me, we do say the Pledge of Allegiance, but I attended Monday night's city council and they do not, or they didn't. Why is that?
We typically do.
Okay.
Was that chaired by Mayor Ritchie?
No.
Oh, it may have been, yes. So I think that may have been just a procedural thing that got missed. We do,
Want to make sure.
yes.
Wasn't it a study session?
Oh, that was at the study session. Yeah.
I just assumed it was a regular city council meeting at Monday.
Oh, this last Monday was a study session. Yeah, that's a little looser of a format. That's where, so the study sessions are when we have, it's more of an open forum, and we get into issues and dive into issues and have lively discussions. Generally, no actions are taken. It's only in the legislative meetings where we take actions.
Would that also mean that's why it wasn't tape recorded?
Yes, that's been our policy, is that we don't, there has been some discussion as to whether or not it would be a good idea to do so, but the current policy of the city council is that they do not
Okay,
record
I just thought
study
it was a
sessions.
regular city council meeting and
Yes.
there were some differences between the meetings.
Yep.
Okay. Then the last question, when developers come in, such as Viking, here, and start building areas and create street messes from earth-moving vehicles moving in and out of things like at Lawson, is it the responsibility of the builder to clean up their mess at the end or during the time?
No, they're obligated to not be dragging mud throughout the whole city. So typically we have construction entrances which consist of quarry spalls and whatnot that can scrape that mud off of their tires. But regardless, they're obligated just to make sure that they're not doing that. If you're seeing that, let me know, and I can make sure our public works inspector gets on them.
It's at the end of Lawson, I'll let you know. Right
Yeah,
now.
okay.
Right at the end of Lawson, where it was at the end.
Yes.
Where Viking is breaking ground now.
Yep.
They're doing a lot of turning around and dragging mud.
Okay, good to
Just
know.
thought I'd get it before it gets worse.
Yeah, and as the year goes on and it starts to get warmer, then the mud becomes dust and it becomes a big mess.
Okay.
So I appreciate it.
Thanks. That was it. Told them they were small.
The only thing to report on is at your next meeting on April 8th, one additional item that we would be addressing is the Kalispell Tribe Development Agreement, their proposed R3 rezone. They're still working on the development agreement with the city of Airway Heights, and so they'd asked to move from tonight to the April meeting to come and present the update to their project, and they hope to have the development agreement draft completed by that stage. And so that was to address the city council and the plan commission's questions regarding the intensity of the proposed development on that property.
When is the joint meeting? Because I missed it, or I went to an earlier meeting. Isn't there a joint one between us and city council?
Yes, for the plan commission, the goal is to schedule a study session when the plan commission is far enough in the deliberations to meet with the council and go through their thoughts.
So it isn't set yet?
It is not set, just to go through their thoughts. We identified some potential dates in April, later in April after your meeting.
Got it.
That would be the study sessions that the Director Anderson had mentioned. So twice a month, the city council has a legislative agenda where they're voting on items, and the other two meetings of the month are opportunities to have conversations about items that will be coming forward to the council and have questions answered. And so we're looking at two of those dates in April, potentially after your next hearing date, so you can bring forth your thoughts and why you made the recommendation that you have to the council before they have their hearing.
Excellent. Thank you.
So we'll send those out by email, the choices to you. I believe that the council is also looking at those dates. I believe at least one or two of the other council members are already looking at those dates for a joint study session.
Oh, I do have one last thing. I wanted to compliment your department, you and the department, for the public thing that we had the other evening at the rec center, the informational meeting. Well run, well done, excellent job. I was very impressed with what I saw. I was surprised the sheriff's office was not there in attendance. Every other police department, including Kalispell, was there. Shame on them.
Well, thank you very much. This was really a CJ Alliance that put that event together.
It was
They followed
fabulous.
the maps, and the chief, our Brady Chief Bradley, brought in the partnership with the Dairy Queen. I'm not sure how many of the 300 dairy cars got handed out, but the families were absolutely thrilled with that. And did you want to summarize the surveys and the number of participants who went through the open house?
Well, I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, that's okay. We don't have a definitive number how many people attended, but we do know that we were in conversations the entire 3 hours that we were there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we spoke to 150 people as they were cycling through. And we had 30 of the surveys returned to us, and we posted them up on the boards as they were being completed, so people could have a chance to see what people were thinking about. And we wanted to use the survey as, for two reasons. One, we wanted to see if the policies that we were proposing in this document were tracking, and they were. And then we also wanted to see if we could entice people to get involved to start thinking about a new vision for Airway Heights, since the one that we're working off here was one that was written 10 years ago. Actually 12 years ago now. So building a little bit of excitement, and then also helping folks recognize how the policy that's included in the comprehensive plan really does touch virtually every aspect of operations of the city. And so we were actually thinking this would be a kickoff event of maybe an event that would happen once or twice a year, on and on, because we also found it to be a great venue to have conversations about things that people don't always talk about. You know, we had some thoughts about fiscal management and how the city can position itself to be fiscally sustainable over the year and how we negotiate trade-offs. What a great conversation to have with people. And then also some detail about the utility systems and how we start to invest in there and prioritize what we do first. So it was really fascinating for me. It's great to be doing something tangible like that as a planner, because so often we're kind of in our own heads trying to figure out what should be done, but when you have a chance to talk to folks, it gives us a chance to actually change our minds too and understand a much larger perspective of
And
thought.
I totally agree. Everything you said is perfect. Everything was great.
We did have some great partnerships attending, so we had several agencies that attended. Quite a few safety agencies, so we have tribe, chief's office. There was also the Cheney School District.
School resource officer was there, yep.
School resource officer. So it was just a great, I saw a lot of people from the police officers. So that's a direct suggestion right here from the planning commission to have an opportunity for our community to engage with our safety personnel and have a relationship as well. Safer.
Deal. Yes. Just here? Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Art.
Hey, my pleasure.
Thanks, Sean.
I wish we could push it faster, but stuck with the system.
Excited about the school. Did you know we closed on the school?
Oh, yeah.
No, no.
I knew it was before I knew the land they were looking at. I knew I'm very closely working with Rob, superintendent. I sit on the truancy board as well for the school district, so I was well aware of it.
Well, we were glad to hear that it took a little
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I wish
I wish it were a larger piece of property and they did a K-8. Because we're not ready for a high school, but a K-8 would have been great. And it can work. I've seen them work.
What is this one going to be
It'll
for?
be K-5.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
you'll draw kids out of Sunset. It's
Oh.
at 600 kids. Yeah.
They've moved the sixth grade into the...
They've always done that. I mean, well, since I've moved here, yeah.
I actually wanted
It's
to
been a
propose an
minute.
idea for you.
Okay.
If you want, I can give you my name and number, and I can gather a group of ladies from the local community as well as from the base.